Hi, all of you wonderful scuba divers out there. Welcome to the Scuba Diving Magazine podcast, where I break down the latest scuba diving news and things that have piqued my interest over the previous week. This week on the podcast, a group of people have risked a $30,000 fine to rescue a humpback whale that was caught in a net. A 24-foot-long shark has washed up on a Scottish beach, and there's a new British freediving record. So the first news story is that authorities are investigating the death of a scuba diver during a salvage operation on Crane Lake in northern Minnesota. The 50-year-old man from the town of Embarrass was assisting a group of people on Sunday in recovering a piece of sunken machinery from a part of the lake that was about 70 feet, it's about 21 meters deep, on Sunday when he failed to resurface. The St. Louis County Sheriff's Office said in a statement, rescuers found him, but despite life-saving efforts, they were unable to save him. The salvage operation was based on a barge that was going to be used to transport the sunken equipment back to shore. The man was trained as a scuba diver, but not affiliated with any recovery or salvage company. The Sheriff's Office have said the accident happened outside the boundary of Voyageurs National Park, which includes part of Crane Lake. So it sounds like someone dropped something, it's usually a boat motor, and they want it back, basically. They dropped it in the middle of the lake, and they sent this group of people down. Not a commercial diving group with like surface support and all that kind of stuff. I mean, surface support. There probably wasn't. Well, there was someone on the surface on a barge, but they didn't have like surface supply gas. It was just scuba divers, just with cylinders, and something happened. They're not entirely sure what, but they have recovered him. In similar news, a 33-year-old British man has died whilst exploring a shallow shipwreck in northern Greece in what was described as seas that had remained rough following stormy conditions. The dive site is known as the Epinomi shipwreck on the Halkidiki Peninsula, and the fatality occurred on the 30th of June on Sunday. The wreck is a government soil carrier ship that was abandoned after hitting a sandbank back in the 1970s, and it lies in very shallow waters close to the shore. Most of it is actually above the surface, so it's quite popular with tourists from the nearby beach. Lots of snorkelers go and visit it, but they were just diving around the diveable areas. When the man was seen in apparent distress at the surface, he was pulled from the water by other swimmers in the area. An emergency call brought a rescue boat and an ambulance to the beach, but he could not be resuscitated. The port authority, or the local port authority, is carrying out an investigation, and a post-mortem examination is being conducted at a nearby hospital to try and work out what happened. So yeah, the old adage of it doesn't matter how deep the water is, you still have to be careful. You never know what actually happens. I think there was another news story in Australia where bystanders at Flint and Steel Beach at the Ku-ring-gai Chase National Park, which is just north of Sydney in Australia, performed CPR on the man and called 000, triggering an extensive and complex emergency response just after 2 p.m. on Saturday. New South Wales ambulance crews and the Westpac Rescue Helicopter Rural Fire and Rescue and New South Wales police crews raced to the scene to assist. The man, who was aged in his 40s, was put into a Rural Fire Service boat and transported to a local port, where he was then rushed to Northern Beaches Hospital in a critical condition. The spokesperson for New South Wales FR Fire Rescue said firefighters attended, including a specialist rescue team. A 54-year-old diver on the Gold Coast died whilst on a commercial scuba dive at the Wolf Rock dive site 2 kilometres off Double Island Point just after 11 a.m. on Friday. A Queensland ambulance spokeswoman said the man had died following a completely unrelated medical reason. Queensland police have appealed for help finding the man's scuba equipment that they think has drifted along a wide stretch of the Queensland southeast coast. They, in all of the work to get him out of the water, they did equipment removal and just kind of left it in the water, but it drifted off So there's a BCD and a cylinder, and the regulators and whatnot just floated off. Happened to be during a rescue course. Luckily, we were doing it in a lake, so it couldn't go too far. And I had access to a rib, so no one had to swim after it. But yeah, it is very easy to lose equipment, and it's quite important to check the equipment after this kind of incident because it can give you clues as to what happened. So if you are in the Queensland area and you do find an unattended BCD all set up, it is worth contacting local authorities. There's a bit more information about the Exot liverboard that sank in the Red Sea last week. So the Red Sea liverboard Exot sank on the evening of the 25th of June after breaching its hull on a coral reef near Marsalam in southern Egypt. Initial investigations commissioned by Egypt's environment minister have revealed that the vessel ran into high waves that led to the damage and subsequent flooding. The Exot is, or was, a 40-meter long vessel built in 2009 and renovated in 2015, so it's pretty up to date. Had capacity for 24 guests in 12 cabins. At the time of the incident, it was carrying mainly French divers, all of whom, along with the crew, were reportedly evacuated safely. I don't think I saw any reports of injuries by the Egyptian Coast Guard, and nearby vessels helped them out, so no injuries were reported. In a preliminary review of the incident, Minister Fouad emphasised the importance of crew experience and knowledge of the Red Sea's coast and coral reef areas when managing dive boat activities. She has appointed a committee to determine the exact cause of the incident and assess resulting damage to corals in the Sataya area southeast of Marsalam. The Red Sea Protected Areas team, which conducted interviews with Exot's guests and crew, confirmed that the vessel had drifted semi-submerged for several hours before sinking some 2 kilometers away from the initial impact point. So it wasn't... you often see a lot of shipwrecks where they sink pretty much where they were, or where they struck. This one actually seemed to drift before it found a resting point. Diving Attitude, which were the operators of Exot, have expressed sorrow at the loss of the vessel, but relief that all of its passengers and crews had been safely evacuated. In a quote, they say, "The situation is tough for us, who loved our beautiful boat so much, but for the entire team, the overriding feeling is a great relief to know that all the people present on Exot were quickly evacuated and returned safely to Marsalam." The extent of the impact on the coral reef is still being assessed by environmental specialists because there were reports of fuel leakages, so they want to get on top of that as soon as possible. And the sinking is the latest in a series of Egyptian Red Sea liverboard incidents over the past 15 months, which includes there was a fire on Sea Legend in February. There was a fatal fire on Hurricane in June. There was a collision with a reef of New Dream near Marsalam days earlier, and there was a capsizing of the Carlton Queen near Abu Nahas in April. So there's been quite a few liverboards, not just the Red Sea, but further ones out in other seas that have been having issues. So if you do have any booked, just do pay attention to that safety briefing and do sort of take that kind of consideration in that, at the worst possible time, if something did happen, you want to make sure that you can get out and get to safety. So that should always be at your sort of in your mind. Still have fun. And still go on liverboards, obviously, but just do be aware of exit routes and all that kind of stuff. A group of paddleboarders has risked legal action and fines of more than $30,000 to rescue a humpback whale that was trapped in a shark net off the Sunshine Coast. So marine authorities say their actions were against the law and risked injury from a distressed and unpredictable whale. All right, but if the whale's caught in a net, I'd wager that's a greater risk to its health. But Will Wensley and Brenton Owens abandoned plans for a sunrise swim and yoga session at Markula Beach when they saw the whale in distress on Monday. Mr. Owens said they reported their sighting to authorities, but when no one had arrived almost an hour later, they took action themselves, fearing that the whale was drowning because it was caught in this net. Mr. Wensley and Owens, along with friends Luke Bird and Jazz Soul, paddleboarded out and cut the net with a knife just after 7 a.m. Mr. Owens said that the whale was, quote, wrapped entirely in 2 layers of net. It was on the surface, but it was not moving. Shortly after we got out there, it took a deep breath and released a lot of air. And then it slowly actually sunk under the water and bubbles appeared, and we all turned to each other and said, oh my God, is that its last breath? Mr. Owens said his priority was to cut away the net that was rubbing back and forth over the whale's eyes. He said, I just knew I had to at least free its eye if I could do nothing else at the time. That was my main priority, to comfort the animal and let it relax. After they cut the whale free, the whale eventually swam away. The Department of Agriculture and Fisheries said the incident was first reported to the Shark Control Program hotline at 6:20 a.m. A marine animal release team was en route to release the whale when it was advised members of the public had already done so. Naomi Gardiner, who's from the James Cook University. She's a senior lecturer in marine biology and aquaculture, said that actually you got to be careful about doing this. She says that the rescuers are putting themselves in great danger, quoting, humpback whales are enormous animals, exceptionally heavy, and in distress they will act quite erratically. Particularly in this kind of entanglement situation, they could quite easily, just by movement of their body, knock a person out, causing death or substantive injury to the well-intended rescuer. And under Queensland legislation, a person can be fined $19,356. Why is it always really specific numbers? But the fine can be over $19,000 for entering waters within 100 meters of a whale. The fine does not apply if a person has a, quote, reasonable excuse. So you'll have to argue that in court. It's also illegal to come within 20 meters of shark nets used in the state government's shark control program. The maximum penalty for that is a $32,260 fine, and there is no reasonable excuse exemption. So yeah, that's the real sort of stickler. You came too close to the shark net to free this humpback whale. You should have waited for emergency services and whatnot to do it. In relation to the event, a DAF spokesperson said the department would, quote, consider whether an investigation is required into possible offences under the Fisheries Act 1994, namely the 20-metre exclusion zone that applies to shark control equipment. For their own safety, we recommend the public not to approach or try to release whales trapped in nets, the spokesperson said. They say call the Shark Control Program hotline and let the trained and properly equipped experts do their job, which I kind of have to agree with. I do get it's a good reason to do these kind of things, and in their position, I don't really know what I would do if you have to stand there for like over an hour waiting for the proper people to come and do it, but you have all of the equipment to do it yourself. Yeah, I kind of morally, I kind of have to recommend that no, you do wait for the correct people to do it. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what I would do myself in that kind of situation. Mr. Wensley said the group considered their safety and the potential penalties, but felt that the situation was so urgent that they had to act. He said that the sound was like an elephant in pain, just kind of screaming. The DAF weren't there. No one came. They'd already been called in an hour before they were there, and the animal was literally just stuck there dying and drowning. So felt that they had to do something then and there. So yeah, at least the story has a happy outcome for everyone involved. Not so happy that the humpback whale got caught in the shark net, but at least it was freed. Yeah, at least if the proper authorities doing it, they can do an assessment and yeah, use the right equipment and techniques and whatnot just to make sure. Sure, it does take a little bit longer for them to turn up, but hey, that's kind of what they're there for, and that's why the hotline exists, so that the right people can go and do it themselves. So yeah, the recommendation is don't sort of intervene yourself. Try and get the right people to come and do it. In Scotland, a huge shark has washed up on a beach, leaving beachgoers in utter disbelief. A basking shark, which is, they say, sometimes known as Toothless Bruce, because of its lack of teeth, measured 24 feet in length when it appeared on Maiden's Beach in Ayrshire in Scotland. The enormous creature had a rope caught between its mouth and wrapped around its tail when discovered by Yolanda McCall on Sunday evening, who at first mistook it for a whale. Is the basking shark the second largest after the whale shark? They're big creatures, so it's understandable why you might mistake it for a whale. She immediately reached out to BDLMR, which is the British Divers Marine Life Rescue, and the Scottish Marine Animal Stranding Scheme, or SMAS, teams to help remove the shark. Not quite so easy because of the sheer size of it. They needed a forklift to remove it from the beach. Yolanda said it was tangled in a long loop of rope in its mouth and caught around its tail. The creature was bobbing around in the water, and we couldn't tell if it was dead or alive. I wanted to try and help it if it was alive and floundering, so I put on a wetsuit and got into the water to check. Sadly, it was dead, but it looked very complete, a recent death. Maybe it got tired trying to free itself. Basking sharks are actually an endangered species, and they're often spotted off the Ayrshire coast in the summer months. Officials on the scene were said to have identified the animal as a basking shark. Yeah, it's fairly obvious what it was. She added, after the tide went out, we could see the full, beautiful, big creature. It's very sad. Spokesperson for HM Coast Guard said just before 8:45 on in the afternoon on Sunday, June 30th, HM Coast Guard had a report of a beached cetacean at Maiden's Beach. Coast Guard rescue teams from Girvan and Ballantrae were sent. British Divers Marine Life Rescue and South Ayrshire Council were alerted. So yeah, the poor thing, caught up in some ghost gear. There's not much that you can do in that kind of situation, and Yolanda did the right thing in calling the authorities, and yeah, they have disposed of it. And there's a new freediving record. They say off the coast of a beautiful island on the other side of the world, a boy from Babbacombe has broken the British record in an incredible sport that combines courage, relaxation, and a very deep breath. Matt Hill grew up in the stunning surroundings of Torbay and nurtured his love for the sea from a very young age, diving around the beaches of Babbacombe, Oddicombe, and Medford with friends and a big spear. He later joined the Royal Marines and continued his passion for the water, but that grew to a whole new level when he moved to the island of Bali in Indonesia. He's made a dive down to 104 meters on the final day of the competition. Quoting, "I managed to pass the dive, and to get that official recognition, you have to dive down to the 104 meters and retrieve a white tag at the bottom of the line. You then have to bring it to the surface and give judges an OK sign within 20 seconds, and basically not pass out on the surface. There are different disciplines in freediving, and record I broke is a dive without fins, so you just pull yourself down on the rope, grab the tag, and then pull yourself back up. I believe the world record in free immersion is 132 meters. But it's a remarkable achievement for Matt and a moment of great pride for Torbay, and his journey will later take him to further competitions in Greece, and I'm sure we'll see his name pop up in future freediving competitions. As far as new diving equipment, Scuba Pro has a couple of things. The first one, they've got some new some color ranges for some of their masks and snorkels and fins and stuff. But the more interesting one, in my opinion, is the Everflex Ulex Dive Promotion 2024. offer. I just got to read the small print first just to make sure and don't get anyone's hopes up. Offer available at participating Scuba Pro authorized dealers. See scubapro.com for more information. Available while stock lasts. Promo is available until the 27th of September. So for most of the summertime, basically, and it's probably going to be regional, so it may not be available all around the world. But if you buy an Everflex Ulex steamer, which is their like neoprene alternative, their plant-based Ulex Everflex wetsuit, either a 7.5 or a 5 mil full-length wetsuit, with 20% discount on MSRP. What is that manufacturer suggested retail price? You get free of charge a pair of Everflex 5mm arch boots, which are actually the pair of boots that aren't. You're not going to get my boots, obviously, but that's the style of boot that I use. You're going to get a pair of Everflex 5mm gloves and an Everflex 3mm hood. So if you're in the market for a 5mm or even a 7mm with like gloves and boots and whatnot, this is a great way. And the Scuba Pro wetsuits are always really nice, and the Ulex ones. Yeah, Ulex is like a plant-based foam alternative to neoprene. So if you're allergic to neoprene anyway, it's a good alternative, and it's a bit more environmentally friendly. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I also noticed that Cressy has a new mask, the Samoa, which has the same like ribbed anti-fog system as their Zeus mask. So in the skirt, the silicone skirt itself, it's got all of these heat sink fins. That's what it reminds me of, around the other sides, and that's to help reduce fogging. It comes with a one of those fabric elastic straps as standard with a built-in snorkel keep, and it's yeah, I'd be quite interested to try this out, because I tried the Quantum, not the Zeus, the Quantum mask has the heatsink fins. I tried the Quantum and the Calibro mask. They also have this like second internal skirt that goes over your nose that helps whenever you equalize the squeeze of your mask by breathing out of your nose. It kind of traps that like warm, humid gas in the nose pocket before just flushing over the glass lenses. And literally straight out of the box, I tried it on and like really tried to breathe out through my nose to get it to fog up as quickly as possible. It was quite hard, and that's without like toothpaste or whatever to pre-prepare the mask. So yeah, this Samoa mask looks quite interesting. It looks a bit more budget. I haven't seen a price for it, but yeah, that's new to me. Otherwise, I've got time for a couple Ask Mark questions. The first one, Arbarata77 says, hello there. Below what water temperature would you consider to be cold water diving? The industry standard is 10 degrees Celsius. I see that some regulators are better than others for cold water. Where do you cross that line? I'm from Portugal. The water is definitely not warm, 15 to 20 degrees Celsius, but it's not freezing. Yeah, I mean, the industry standard, when you say 10 degrees, especially for regulators and cold water, like certifying, is 10 degrees Celsius. So technically you are in warm water as far as a regulator is concerned. But yeah, if something is cold water certified, it's gonna do better in both cold and warm waters. Personally, it's the personal one as far as like feeling warm. I don't know, 20 something. Yeah, whenever I can wear just a rash vest and board shorts and not think too much, that's warm water. Anything more than that, and yeah, it's kind of cold. But yeah, the industry standard is 10 degrees Celsius. Aliens Welcome also says, hello there. Recently, I finished my side mount course. Congratulations. There's a lot to learn yet, and I'm still excited with the challenges to come. Could you please explain how to prepare a cable to hang my bottles on the boat, then donning them in the water? Yeah, just tie a secure knot, something like a bowline, and yeah, lower it down into the water. Yeah, I mean, you can use an alpine butterfly so that it's somewhere like halfway down. I probably wouldn't use a prusik. I don't think I'd trust a prusik knot with an unattended cylinder. But anyway, yeah, just put some kind of an end knot, either like a monkey fist or whatever, or a bowline at the end of the line, so that anything that's on it isn't going to sort of slip off. And bowlines usually they're pretty secure, or the most secure, and yeah, just lower it down into the water. That's all you really need. Alan Williams 6259 says, "Hey, I was recently watching a film on Netflix about a dive and a trapped diver." In brackets, the dive. My question is, can you actually remove your regulator underwater to place it onto a new cylinder? Yeah. It's I don't think it's particularly good for your regulator, because you're going to get a little blast of water inside of it. So it'll probably need a service afterwards, or at least a decent clean or like run through to make sure the moisture's out of it. But yeah, you can. It's I think they used to do it in the 70s as like a confidence building program to turn off your cylinder, breathe it down, remove your regulator, and then put it back on, either the same cylinder or a different. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, someone was saying that it was a confidence booster. And yeah, you can still do it. I'd probably rather do it on A clamp than DIN, just because DIN can take a while to like unscrew. But yeah, it can be done. And I think they teach it in some tech courses, just in the unlikely event that there aren't enough regulators for cylinders, and you need an extra cylinder to do whatever kind of decompression or something. Then yeah, you can remove a regulator and fit it to another one. I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're like untrained and in an emergency situation. If you're like trapped, yeah, 100% do whatever you can to get that diver extra gas. But if you're just like doing it for fun, I suppose if you're doing it for fun, as long as it's somewhere safe and you're doing it to practice this skill, but you also have an alternate air source that you can rely on. If you can't make it on a single breath, then yeah, but you don't really want water on the inside of your first stage. And as soon as you depressurize it and do that like first unscrew, there's going to be water getting into your first stage. There are some first stages that can take it a little bit better. Some have a little spring valve built into the inlet that's going to help prevent water and moisture from getting in. Some is going to get in because even when you recouple it onto the or into the cylinder valve, there's still going to be a small amount of water between the valve opening and the inlet to the first stage. So as soon as you pressurize it, it's going to shoot that little bit of water into your first stage and then into your hoses. So yeah, it's not great for your regulators, but it can certainly be done. And I think it is still taught in some more advanced courses. And that's it for another week. All the links to the news stories that I've been talking about today are going to be down in the description underneath of this video. Otherwise, remember, to head over to scubadivermag.com, our website. Check out everything that we do over there on our magazine. Like, share, subscribe wherever you're listening this. Thank you for listening, everybody, and of course, safe diving.